Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the show. Today, we have a really special guest who's doing amazing work for women's health. I'm super excited to introduce Sherrie Palm. Sherrie is a dedicated pelvic organ prolapse patient advocate, author, and the founder and CEO of APOPS. That's the Association of Pelvic Organ Prolapse Support. Sherrie, thank you for joining us.
And it's my pleasure, John. Happy to be here today to shine a light in any way that I can.
Yeah. So let's dive right in.
Okay.
So for those who are not familiar, could you just explain in simple terms what is pelvic organ prolapse?
Sure. This is an extremely common women's health condition. It's been medically documented for nearly 4,000 years, but is still stuffed in the closet because symptoms are embarrassing. What happens to women most typically after they give birth, but menopause is the second leading cause, is that those organs start to shift in the pelvic cavity and they shift downward toward and into the vaginal area. And they don't actually go into the vagina, they just push the wall in and they come down the canal that way. And we're talking bladder, we're talking uterus, we're talking your intestines, your rectum. If you have a hysterectomy, the vagina and the top of the vagina is not secured when they do that surgery. It actually will cave in on itself and come out the bottom end. So there's 5 types of prolapse, 4 grades of severity, and there's a multitude of symptoms, obviously, that come with this condition.
Yeah.
Most typically, women have 2 to 3 types of prolapse at the same time.
Yeah. So I've heard that around 30 to 50% of women might experience it at some point in their life. What do you think of that statement? Is that
I have been using the 50% data for years now, since the first time I read it in a study. And we're seeing it very frequently in studies now. The reality is, because childbirth is such a prominent cause of this condition, and menopause is almost as common as childbirth is, if the statistic is not accurate at 50%, I would guess it's higher, not lower. Sadly, that's the reality. So a lot of lifestyle behaviors and coexisting conditions compound risk for all women. It's just stuffed in the closet. It's been, again, documented for nearly 4,000 years. But because of the symptoms being so embarrassing, and I'd be happy to share those with you if you want to hear them, it's just not talked about out loud very comfortably. And women don't know about this condition until they're diagnosed with it. It's stuck in the closet.
So as far as the treatment goes, identifying seems to be the biggest challenge, which requires the person, has simple testing, but it requires the person to bring attention to the common symptoms, right?
Exactly.
So we can go into the symptoms.
Okay, well, the downside of the big picture is that diagnostic practitioners, the subspecialists, are called urogynecologists, and they're well educated in this. They have an extra 2 to 3 years of school after gynecology fellowship is finished. But the diagnostic side has little curriculum provided to them. And so women are not appropriately screened during routine pelvic examinations. The topic of conversation does not come up during routine pelvic examinations. It's kind of a don't ask, don't tell scenario. And what happens is women go to their PCPs or their OBGYNs or the gynecologists, and they may or may not report urinary incontinence. They can also experience fecal incontinence. They can experience pain with intimacy. They can experience chronic constipation. That's extremely common with erectocele. And so if they mention it to their doctors, their diagnostic doctors, they're not thinking pelvic organ prolapse because they're poorly educated about that condition. So if a woman comes in, she's complaining about incontinence and it's gotten progressively worse over time, she's typically referred to a urologist who will then prescribe, who also is not well educated in POP. They'll prescribe medications, which come with all kinds of side effects and don't address the issue. That's like putting a Band-Aid on an open wound. It's not fixing the problem. So there's a lot of treatments available, both non-surgical and surgical. And once a woman is referred to a urogynecologist, once she's diagnosed and properly referred, then she now has access to all the information to find the right path to treat it as it's appropriate for her needs.
So what are some of the big, more common treatments?
Well, most women are familiar with the term Kegels.
Yeah.
And that's a contraction of the pelvic floor muscles, which are the substructure The organs in the pelvic cavity are secured in place by support structures from the top end and pelvic floor muscles from the bottom end.
Mm.
And the Kegels are related to those muscles underneath those organs. And it's a contraction of, just like any other muscle exercise to strengthen the muscle, it's a contraction of those muscles. However, Kegels alone aren't enough
Yeah.
to maintain a pelvic floor strength.
And is that done through physical therapy? Or
Physical therapists
yeah.
are brilliant at addressing women's pelvic floor health needs,
Mm.
not just prolapse, any pelvic floor health need. It's a subspecialty within physical therapy. It's not all physical therapists are
Yeah.
well advised, but those subspecializing PTs that address women's pelvic health are brilliant. And they're the muscle experts, they're the soft tissue experts, and they're the ones that can guide a woman through, first of all, understanding what that contraction feels like, how
Mm.
you do it appropriately, because women often they think they're doing Kegels, and what they're doing is they're bearing down and pushing out instead of pulling up and in.
Oh
And
yeah.
so they're actually making the prolapse worse because they
Mm.
just don't know the right method to do it. So PTs should always be a first stop for women after they're diagnosed with POP.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah. And then what other treatments are common? Or is
There
that
are multiple surgical procedures to address
mm.
prolapse because there's 5 types of prolapse. There's 4 degrees of severity. Women can have 2 to 3 types at the same
Okay.
time. The type of surgery that you're going to utilize is going to vary from patient to patient as well as from practitioner to practitioner. The
Yeah.
surgeons that do these surgeries, because there's so many different ways to do these surgeries,
Mm-hmm.
and not just by entry point, because entry point can be vaginal if they're not using mesh, abdominal if it's a more major repair that has to be done. Laparoscopically, they can do it. Um, the the methods robotically, the methods that each urogynecologist uses is what is their favorites
Yeah. What they're
and
used to, what they're
what
good
they
at.
do
Yeah.
all the time, you know. So it's kind of like if you bake, you're a baker and you bake cookies all day, that's your area of expertise. That's what you do. So kind of the
Yeah.
same thing with the urogynes too.
Mm. So you start APOPS to bring awareness to the cause, to women's health and this
Right.
issue. So before you founded this, you had a long career in you were a co-owner of Palm's Truck and Auto Body.
Right. That's correct.
How do you think that that previous experience prepared you in any unique ways for moving into this international nonprofit?
Absolutely. I Backing up one more step. I worked for Walgreens for years and years in multiple different positions there. The
Mm,
last one being a bookkeeper, and the basics they taught me in bookkeeping was a foundation for when we opened up Palms Truck and Auto Body.
mm,
And I was the, the office person that did it all. You know, the
mm.
incoming, the outflowing, address the employee needs,
Okay. Mm,
insurance coverage, the whole 9 yards. So
yeah.
having that base when I founded APOPS gave me a core on how to run a business. And a nonprofit is a business at
Yeah.
its base. That's what nonprofits are. It's
Mm,
just that we don't have to pay income tax because we're doing the good stuff in the world.
mm,
So that gave me the core to get the structure set up. But I also spent about 3 years. I should have just moved in down at the nonprofit center of Milwaukee because I was down there taking classes all the time
mm,
to learn more about nonprofit governance. And my only experience in the nonprofit sector was related to coaching Special Olympics basketball, nothing
mm.
about the business structure.
Yeah.
So that gave me the baseline to get going with it. But my business experience with the semi-truck body shop was a great core of business insight as well.
For running all that. Yeah.
Right, right.
So now, what does a typical day look like for you? Where do you spend most of your time and energy with currently?
It's a huge mix now. I've, I've used social media. I've got 13 spaces I posted in social media,
Mm,
and that helped build our base. We've got connections, our patients, the medical practitioners, academia, research industry, a little bit on the policy side, not as deeply as we're going to be getting into it, but a little bit on the policy side. And it's kind of a mixture of intersecting with all of those layers that makes up my all day, every day. A typical day may be engaging in my first up, what I try and get done first is the social media posting. I'll have one post and that's just copy paste it from one social to the other.
Yeah.
And that can be a study I read that I find interesting. It can be a personal observation with my body. It could be um, a conversation I have with someone that is open public information that I felt I should share some aspect of that conversation with the following. So it's really variable. And I used to write a lot of articles. I don't, unfortunately, have time to write a lot of articles anymore, so I don't do a whole lot of that. But I've got about a short of 200 YouTube videos. So sometimes I'll just do a video short, and sometimes I do an actual more lengthy video or like a webinar type style video. I spend a lot more time in meetings now than I used to. And that is of value on a whole different layer here, whether it's communicating with industry about something new that they're innovating, or I got an email from a Portuguese biomedical group of students a couple days ago that wanted to just have a conversation to better understand the backflow of prolapse, to know what they should be looking toward innovating. So it's very variable what I do from day to day, and that's a good thing, because I'm never bored. I'm never bored. There's always something unique on each individual day's adventures. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. So with this silent epidemic, as you would call it, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've faced in breaking the silence and raising awareness?
Well, breaking down the stigma attached to the word vagina alone is huge. That's been a huge roadblock. You know, I often reflect and refer back to what it was like for breast health, which you're way too young to remember that. But back before the mid 70s, you couldn't say the word breast out loud. It was highly stigmatized. And you couldn't say it in newspapers or magazines. You couldn't say it on the radio or TV.
Yeah.
And that's where vagina still remains. It's gotten a little bit better. We went through 2 to 3 years of banning and shadow banning on social media. And for those that have product that they're selling related to vaginal health needs, it was horrible for them. I mean, bad enough for me. And I got a lot of grace on that side because I've been saying vagina forever. So I guess they're just used to me using that term. But vagina is actually a medical anatomical word. It's not a slang term.
Yeah.
There's nothing pornographic about it.
Yeah.
It's an organ in our body. And so that there's still stigma attached to that term is really unsettling. And so the majority of the time I've been doing this, it's been 16 years now. The biggest roadblock has been how to get around those roadblocks related to the terminology of this condition and where it's located at. And there's also so much stigma attached to the symptoms. Again, we're talking the urinary incontinence, the fecal incontinence, tissues bulging out of the vagina is the biggest, worst one. Your pain with intimacy, the chronic constipation. And so having open conversations about all of those layers is so critical to women's health. Anything below the waist in women, don't ask, don't tell. Baloney. Baloney. It's health. It's nothing more. It's nothing less. And it's so important that we get to that page where we're looking at all aspects of female health, no matter what part of the body it is. So that has been, like I said, it was a little bit harder in the beginning. And now I'm just like, if they like it, they do. If they don't, they don't. It's just blah, blah, blah. It all comes shooting out of my mouth. So it's a work in progress. And the hardest part of it is, I mean, I chase down journalists all the time. If I see anything, an article that's well written, if I see a journalist that's asking for a resource, I chase them down. And it's really hard to get through that wall because you're talking openly about this space in women's bodies that it's only looked at as a sexual component, and it's the vessel of life and love.
What is
we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for vaginas, you know?
Yeah. What is an example of something that would kind of catch your eye as far as like a journal that you saw or something?
And like a newspaper or magazine, you mean?
Yeah.
A journal is, we're looking at journals, we're talking about studies. And so that is very specific to prolapse when there's studies. But if there is an article that came up about, and I see them, I get my Google links are set up to, shoot stuff to me about anything
Yeah.
that says pelvic organ prolapse. And so it may come in an article that's by a physical therapist about, it'll cover the symptoms of prolapse. It'll cover tools that they use to treat women. It'll cover, don't be embarrassed to talk to your doctors about this. That kind of flavor is pretty common in all of the links that I get from the Google alerts.
So then you
But
connect with
if I
them.
see that, if I see something unique in it,
Mm.
that is the actual wording that a PT or a doctor or a journalist uses, that's what grabs me.
Yeah.
If they're talking about prolapse from a compassionate zone, that pulls me in. If they're talking about prolapse from this is a big deal, we've got to get the word out about this
Yeah.
layer, that grabs me. So it's pretty much more about the terminology and the flavor of a piece that pulls me in, as opposed to
Yeah.
just something general about pelvic organ prolapse.
Hmm.
That's been done a bit now over the
Yeah.
past couple of years. So,
So, looking back, what's one challenge that you initially seemed more overwhelming, but you were successfully able to navigate it when with creating APOPS?
well, the biggest obstacle is getting funding in. Nonprofits, everyone thinks the nonprofits have got money trees in our backyard. We don't. We do not. So trying to get funding in and donations in is really, really hard. And that's the thing about my work that I hate the most. I hate asking for money. Um, it takes me away from the value part of what I should be working on. But it's a necessary tool to
Yeah.
enable us to evolve our tools and advance our tools and to make more uh, insights and just tools in general available for the women that we serve.
Yeah.
Without the funding to cover our overhead, we're kind of like stuck in the muck.
And to serve
So
more women.
that's, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the roadblock. I mean, we've got patient following in 184 countries.
Mm.
So social media took care of that.
Yeah.
So and thank goodness for social media, and that's been gold to our efforts. So we've got we have both an open and closed Facebook support patient pages for women. And on the open page, there's around 3,400 members on that page, if I'm remembering correctly. And they talk openly about prolapse, and anybody can see it. In our closed forum, there's around 31,000 women,
Hmm.
and they chat 24/7 about their journeys, what they're experiencing, if they've just been diagnosed. Their women are typically, when first diagnosed, are either really anxious or really angry, one of the
Mm.
two. And so they talk with each other and help each other out. And if a woman comes in with a particularly uh, anxious backstory, she's surrounded with women that have been there, done that,
Yeah.
and they sure had our forum, closed forum, is so supportive,
Mm.
mutually supportive. We do run a tight ship. We screen all requests to enter,
Mm.
and we do not tolerate any bash talking between members. So we do run a tight ship, and that's what keeps it nurturing and beneficial for the members that are in there. So um,
Do
that's
you,
kind of what fixed everything, or
yeah.
built everything, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you get donations through those social media channels as well?
A little bit, not to where it should be.
Yeah.
And it's probably because I don't bang the drum a lot, because if I had a money tree, I'd be giving it all away for free because I think women should know this stuff.
Yeah.
But we have got June is Pelvic Organ Prolapse Awareness Month, and we had that
Mm.
uh, established with the legislature in Wisconsin here, and that's now gone global. They're the two largest, actually the three largest practitioner organizations that address these issues. American Urogynecological Association, AUA, or AUGS. AUA is American Urological Association,
Mm.
and IUGA, which is International Urogynecologists. They all talk about Pelvic Organ Prolapse Awareness Month. Many in industry do now. The PTs talk about it, so that's been established, and so that gets the word out there. But that doesn't bring donations in.
Yeah.
It's like everybody just thinks you can just make the magic happen. So I don't know. I mean, once you're to the page of the size of St. Jude, American Heart Association, when you're that large of an organization, then people, they all know who you are and they all send the money in, and they still have
Yeah.
to poke for it, but they get it much more easily than we do. People don't know what pelvic organ prolapse is
Yeah.
until they're experiencing it. So there's roadblocks that are there, and we'll just continue to bang the drum. And it's with this last year, it's just been so volatile financially for so many people.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty rough year for nonprofits across the board. So
Mhm.
I can't say it's just us that's being hit, but the smaller nonprofits and the lesser known nonprofits, it's hardest on us to navigate those waters.
Yeah. Could you tell us a little more about the Women's Health Network or Environment Network project that you're developing?
Women's Health Empowerment Network, yes, I am so excited to finally get this rolling. It's been a work in progress for over a year here. The vision behind Women's Health Empowerment Network, the coalition, is to tear down the silo walls between the different pockets that address women's below the waist health. This isn't just prolapse, it's for all below the waist health in women.
Mm.
And so the vision is to bring together those nonprofits that address this,
Mm.
the different women's health conditions, the practitioners that uh, do the medical, address the medical issues,
Yeah.
the academia who teach the practitioners, the researchers, again, industry that make the products that help, and the policymakers. So bringing all of these sectors together to have them intersect. And when any of us are heading to government legislative side to address changes that need to be implemented, whether it's uh, addressing shortfalls or addressing misconceptions, and you have to have politicians involved to get done what you need to get done.
Yeah.
Now we have this coalition and we can pull each other in to help each other out. It helps to disseminate new innovative research. Anyone that's on the biomechanical or biomedical research side of the equation, they're always doing research, and it fans out their information on a broader spectrum. And it also enables those within the coalition to network with each other. So if this
Mm.
part, a researcher needs to connect with someone that's got a nonprofit to access their patient following for a survey, that makes that more user friendly. So
Mm.
it's tearing down all those walls between all of the sectors and making them coordinate to make it a more user friendly and more beneficial
Yeah.
big picture.
With all the people who are, yeah, important to him. It's communication that you're involved.
Exactly. It's a network, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Is it launched?
It's launched, yeah. So we're slowly pulling different groups in,
Oh.
and if I could work 24 hours a day, it would be further along. But unfortunately, there's no staff behind APOPS. We've got some wonderful volunteers, but there's no actual staff here because the funding isn't there to back up staff.
Yeah.
And so because I have to juggle all the balls, it's taking longer than I wish it would. But we
Mm.
do have those that are engaged. And I did speak, I was at the AUGS conference last October. That's the urogynecologist. And I spent a lot of time in industry talking with them about this vision. And I got a lot of positive response. And that's just a matter of circling back to them. And I'm currently deeply engaged in communicating with the nonprofit sector to pull them in, to make them aware of what we're doing as well. So, um, again, if I could just give up sleep, I'd be a lot further ahead. But it's kind of a necessity. So,
Yeah.
it's kind of keeps the brain fired. So, somewhat. Some days, not so much. So,
So you mentioned pursuing the interest from the like major medical organizations. That was OGS, right?
mhm, mhm.
Um, what would a successful collaboration with a group mean for APOPS?
Well, it absolutely, by bringing all these different layers together, it legitimizes what you're doing.
Right.
I've worked with AUGS on and off in different projects for the past since 2011. I don't know if you can remember back in 2011, there were a lot of commercials on TV for transvaginal mesh complications, and I was deeply embedded in that stuff. And maybe it was before your time, deeply embedded in that stuff. And this was a situation where mesh wasn't the problem. The problem was gynecologists were brought in on weekend training programs to learn how to insert mesh, and gynecologists should not be inserting mesh in women. Urogynecologists should be doing that. And so it created a lot of complications, large class action lawsuit. And so I was deeply embedded in that. They had a pelvic floor disorder stakeholder advisory committee. I was involved in that, and that was the beginning of my intersecting with AUGS. So from that point forward, there were different events that they held, meetings that they held, committees or whatever, that I was asked to engage in. And so we've danced back and forth over the years. And the same thing with the other professional organizations that I've intersected with. It's a matter of building connections, strong connections with their members. It's a matter of helping them understand the patient perspective, because the practitioner perspective doesn't always recognize all of the quality of life issues that women are experiencing, much less the degree of intensity that they're experiencing them.
Yeah.
So it's a hand wash hand situation where we kind of help each other out. And when people on the donation page, when people are thinking about donating to a nonprofit, if they see that professional practitioner organizations are involved, or industries involved, or legislators are involved, it validates what you're doing. It shows the world that we're all connected here. We're all working together toward the same objective and the same goal.
Yeah.
And that makes it easier to make it look like it's the real deal. And it is the real deal. So
Are you able to get grants from people like them, or
well, we can't get grants from those professional organizations. They do have grant programs, but those are steered toward the fellowship society, the early doctors, to help them do their research, to help them pay, if they're coming from overseas, to pay for their trips and their travel expenses to get to the conference. They don't fund nonprofits, unfortunately. And there are grants that are available, both foundation grants and some government grants. The difficulty with grants is there's a lot of time involved in grant writing. And I'm a good writer. I'm a pretty doggone good writer. However, no spare time. So how do I segment out for this? And you can hire grant writers for you, but they cost like $200, $250 an hour for a grant writer.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, if you need grants, you can't really afford, unless you're the big dogs, afford to have a grant writer writing for you. So I have written a few grants in the past and gotten, and then smaller grants. But I just don't have the time now. So sadly, that gets set on the wayside. So if I could just spend like a week straight writing grants, we'd probably get a good sized chunk of change in, but not going to happen. So,
well, if you had a magic wand, what would be the thing that you would fix, I guess? Or is that the thing that you would have done, the grant writing, or is there are there other things that are really more challenging than that?
Well, no, getting the money is the most challenging thing that I do. And again, I freely admit I don't spend anywhere near enough time on it, because in my heart I'm holding women's hands and hearts all day, every day. That's my passion, and that's what I'm really good at. I'm a nurturer by nature, and I go into all of our social media Monday through Friday and post about something, and then of course that always generates commentary back from our following. And I love to follow up and share my insights with them one-on-one when they ask questions. If you're not accessible as a nonprofit founder, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, if you're not accessible to your following, you're not as good at your job as you should be.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the patients, you wouldn't even have a job. Same thing with practitioners. They wouldn't even have jobs. I just said this comment in a speech about a week and a half ago. The patient is the hub of what that One Coalition is all about. Everything that we do is about the patient. That's the hub of nonprofit, patient advocacy. So if you lose sight of that, or you don't have sight of that when you're starting off, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Absolutely. Patients are the most significant layer of base and intersect that we have in the nonprofit sector.
Yeah, they're like the foundation of.
That's the word, foundation, exactly, of what we do.
So the key services that you kind of provide to the women
Mm-hmm.
in that space for them to talk, I guess in that space, that's where they can find resources for treatments as well.
Well, the majority of our resources are on APOP's website.
Hmm.
And for the people that are listening, it's APOPS.
Hmm.
Um, there's a ton, and I mean a ton of information on our website.
Yeah.
There's links to, I mean, this video's on the website too, but there's links to get to the main video feed. There's articles. There's a POP facts in the drop-down menu, one of the drop-down menus. That is a really, really robust page that talks about prolapse from every angle there's to talk about it in.
Hmm.
So um, going to the website for women that are newly diagnosed is gold.
Yeah.
They just find so much information there, and there's a ton of links that lead you to in different directions
Yeah.
within the website. So
Hmm.
that is our gold,
Yeah.
and that's alongside the forum, which is that patient-to-patient interaction, and that is women that are teens, surprisingly teens through end of life. So the demographic for this condition is massive,
Yeah. Yeah.
massive, huge. And the women that are in their teens, and we've had as young as 13,
Wow.
um, are typically women that have got, and I'm going to guess probably all of them that are that young, have got Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, EDS, which is a separate condition that's tissue integrity. They have weak tissue integrity. So you think about the people that are double jointed, that's one of the indicators, and not all EDSers have got double joints, but a huge percentage of them do.
Yeah.
And really stretchy skin. So what does that translate to? Well, it's your tissues can't hold your organs up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and the intersect between those two conditions, POP and EDS, is massive.
Not enough stability.
So,
Mhm.
and then of course, women that are heading into menopause, because the estrogen levels drop, and estrogen is the primary source of muscle tissue strength and integrity. And few women know that, few people know that.
Mm.
So as your estrogen levels drop, your muscles get weaker, and not just your pelvic floor muscles, all your muscles get weaker. And so that drives all the more mature women into our sector. And there's been in the past so much anxiety about going on a hormone replacement therapy because of all the inaccurate hoopla that occurred years ago, that women will, they just naturally go into menopause, and some of them don't use any estrogen at all.
Mm.
And that's shooting themselves in the foot. Obviously, if they've got cancer issues, that's a whole separate conversation to have with their practitioners. But the bottom line is because this condition is so diverse and impacts women so many different ways, each individual woman's journey is a bit unique.
Yeah.
So they're best off gathering all the facts that they can. And I've written 2 books on prolapse, and women can go to their local library, and this information is on the website. They can go to the local library, take a picture of the book, take the name of the title, my name to the library, and ask them if they'll order that book in, and they can read it for free.
Mhm.
You don't have to buy the book. So that gets the book into a few more hands of women that can't afford to buy the book. So
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Mm. So, what are some sorry, what are some key milestones that you've achieved that you're most proud of?
Well, I would say the fact that we're in 184 countries, I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously, I mean, there's only 100, what is it, 195 countries in the world? 194, 195.
Yeah.
So we're in almost every country, or women
Yeah.
from almost every country have found us. We've got a strong relationship with a ton of urogynecologists, cosmetic gynecologists, which are the experts in the hormone therapies, urologists, physical therapists, and many of them are in our patient support forum, and they come in to observe, which I'm so proud of. They come in just to see what the patients are talking about, to learn more about the true quality of life impacts to women's lives.
Yeah.
So very, very proud of that. And I'm also just so proud of the fact that women come into our closed forum and share their stories. And the same thing with the open page. They share their stories
Yeah.
to help other women. And we've got women that have been in our forum since it was established in 2011 that are still there. they've had their surgeries for prolapse, they've moved on with their lives, but they stay in that space because it's a very nurturing environment and because of the fact that the body continues to age. You have your surgery, and that's not a miracle fix that's going to, stay
Yeah.
perfect forever. It doesn't
Yeah.
work like that. We continue to age and the body degrades. So they may be 10 years down the road from when they joined us, something else. Now they have incontinence coming back again, and they don't know why. And they'll come back in and say, okay, so this is what's happening to me
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
What should I do? And then they all talk to each other. It's just, it's awesome to see them discuss
Yeah.
between not just uh, a teen to a teen, but a woman that's in her 20s with a woman that's in her 60s are comparing notes. It's gold.
Yeah.
It's really gold.
Yeah. Yeah. That's nice. So looking ahead, do you have any big goals for APOPS by the end of the year or anything?
Well, this WEN coalition is the big objective right now. It's a huge big deal.
Mm.
It hasn't been done, and it's taking a lot of work. But I think the value and the proof's in the pudding. I mean, you'll find out when after you're well into a build, you'll find out what the value is.
Yeah.
But I think by intersecting all of these different layers together, it's really going to help magnify addressing the misconceptions and the needs that are still existing
Mm.
behind this condition. So again, proof's in the pudding. I've fallen on my face before with things that I have built that didn't work out. I freely admit that. And
Mm.
I've got to say that you learn 100 times more from your missteps
Yeah.
than you do from your successes.
Yeah.
Once you fall on your face plant, you're like, okay, I'm not doing that again. That was a big mistake. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you kind of have to take it as it comes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so finally, what's the most important message that you want women to take away regarding their pelvic health?
Screen yourself for prolapse. If you've got symptoms like the incontinence or the tissues bulging out of the vagina, if you feel vaginal pressure, rectal pressure, pain with intimacy, if you're feeling any of those symptoms, and there is a POP risk factor questionnaire on the website,
Yeah, that's good.
don't keep it to yourself.
Hmm.
Often in relationships with your partners,
Hmm.
women don't talk about these issues, and then they shy away from intimacy because they're so embarrassed by these symptoms.
Yeah.
And then their partners think that they're just not into sex anymore. They don't, they don't care. And the reality is they have this condition that's so embarrassing that they won't talk to their intimate partners. They won't. So goes my earbud.
Yeah.
They won't talk to their doctors about it. And so don't keep it to yourself. Understand that 50% of women experience this stuff. It's health. Nothing more, nothing less. And you may feel awkward bringing a symptom up to your doctor, but it's critical that you do because prolapse does not go away.
Yeah.
You have to address it. It's going to get worse. And once you get that ball rolling, that first conversation can be a little bit hard for you to initiate. But if you go on the website and you pull up that POP risk factor questionnaire, and you can actually Google that by Googling the letters POP-R-RFQ, and it'll bring you to that page. And then you can print off that questionnaire, and it's available in 17 languages. And then you can check the boxes on it. And I think there's like 17 or 18 questions, if I remember correctly. You check off the boxes of what you're experiencing and take that questionnaire to your doctor. That will start the conversation. And then you won't have to.
That's a good.
You can just say, okay, this is what I'm experiencing.
Yeah.
What do we do about it? And then go from there. So.
And on the bright side, the treatments are pretty successful.
Yes. There's a lot of success behind the treatments. And no woman has to have surgery. That's a personal choice.
Yeah.
We find that women typically use the non-surgicals, which includes a pessary, is a usually silicone device that you insert vaginally, which holds your organs up inside, kind of like a diaphragm used to in the old days. And so we typically see women use a pessary for about 2 years, and then I'm tired of dealing with this surgery. Just fix it. And there are, I know of one woman for sure that, I'm sure there's many more, that say, I'm never having surgery. And that's okay. It's personal choice.
Yeah.
Whichever way you go, it's always personal choice. So, but the most important thing is just recognize, acknowledge your symptoms, and then you see your doctor, and who will refer you to either a physical therapist or a urogynecologist. Step by step, educate yourself, move forward.
Well, Sherrie, thank you. It's been a pleasure having you on the podcast today. You've got passion, dedication, and courage, and the work you're doing is definitely changing lives. So thank you for sharing your story and your insights with us.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure, John. I do appreciate the opportunity to get information out there into the hands of women and their partners.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a big deal. So thanks you so much for your time and invite. I do appreciate it.
Thank you. And to all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.